we speak deputy governors. And we're joined now on the hot seat by the Nyeri deputy governor, who's also the chairperson of the Deputy Governors Forum, Dr. Caroline Karugu. Welcome. Good to see you again.
Thank you very much. Lovely to be here again.
It's good. You know, now in COVID times, when you see somebody, you just know that they're keeping safe, you're happy.
Especially those of you from Nairobi. I see you're driving in bus loads to
the
village, to the village since last weekend. But it's lovely to be here nonetheless. It's been a while since we were last here. And I brought you, as is my custom, I brought you some lovely Nyeri coffee, like I usually do. The Dedan Kimathi.
You were brought up well.
I am brought up well.
Yes,
thank you very much. I'm a villager.
You were not raised by
just
wolves.
grow up.
If I can pass it around.
Yes.
It's Dedan Kimathi.
Yes.
Coffee.
Give me Eric's.
You don't mind?
Grown. It's beautiful. AAA Arabica, medium roast. Lovely coffee. The best coffee.
Lovely.
I'm telling
the
you.
best kept secret. I have an extra packet.
So this is the Dedan Kimathi University Premium Coffee.
Yes.
100% Arabica coffee. Done by the university?
The university itself, yes. So they grow it and they harvest, mill and roast and mill. And it's lovely coffee. I'm
And
sure
package.
you tasted it the last time
It's delightful coffee.
It's lovely.
Did you taste it actually?
Yes, no,
It
not
is
once.
Not once?
Not twice.
You never
Not
called
thrice.
me for I peddle coffee. I peddle Nyeri coffee.
You take it everywhere you go.
I have it in my trunk everywhere I go. Good, lovely to be here.
Dr. Karugu, thank you very much
for the
for
good
coming.
reason for calling. I will call you this time.
Oh, brilliant.
Now you
Now
have
you
an
have a
excuse.
reason.
Now you have an excuse.
You're more than welcome.
Dr. Deputy Governors.
Yes.
Now you're the chair of the Deputy Governors Forum.
Yes.
What's this forum about? Is it just a club of DGs?
Well, the Deputy Governors Forum is a forum that puts together, deputy governors from across the country. And ideally, what we endeavor to do is create a platform for knowledge and information exchange and sort of inter-county relations within the country. It's a forum that's been there as old as the Council of Governors has been there. And we also look at seeing how we can support our governors to achieve their goals and their visions for our counties. But I happen to be chair of deputy governors at a time that I consider very exciting, especially because of the looming constitutional reforms and the fact that we have realized that there is a huge sort of, loophole on the functions and the roles of deputy governors straight from the Constitution to the County Governments Act. And that is what my agenda is as chair. And I hope that I'll be able to, lobby enough support to get actual functions and actual roles given to deputy governors countrywide.
That would be an interesting conversation because you see the perception among the public. And in fact, even when we started talking about that you will be joining us,
yes,
it was like, let's ask ourselves, do deputies have a role at any level? If it's deputy headmaster, deputy principal, deputy president, deputy anything, deputy CEO, do they have any role? Or is their role just to wait for the moment that the head is not there so that you can get into the office and function?
Places where they're not needed, you don't have them. You don't have a deputy husband.
Really?
You go. I know,
surprised.
right? Yeah. Like Ndu says, you'll be surprised. So, the role of deputy governors is integral in devolution. And I mean deputy president, deputy governors. It's very integral in devolution in itself, and it cannot be underestimated. Just the amount of the amount of potential that, for instance, the deputies have, the amount of experience that they bring on board in terms of driving a county's agenda. So I think it's very important to have the deputies there. However, we need to then ask ourselves, so now that we have deputy governors there, what are they doing 8 to 5? And can we ensure that the Mwananchi knows what deputy governors are doing, 8 to 5? We're tired of being told that we are the people waiting for governors to die. We are the people hoping that engineering impeachments.
They don't die often enough, do they?
Muga, can you be nice? Now, so
what do you do 8 to 5?
Deputy governors, countrywide are utilized in different ways by their bosses, and in some cases, maybe, there is no work for deputy governors. In some cases, some deputy governors, for instance, Meru, actually do have a job. They are CEC finance, so they actually have an 8 to 5 job. But I can tell you, for the majority of deputy governors in this country,
they have no portfolio
because
it's the governor who decides your
it's
portfolio.
the governor that decides your portfolio, and
Do you-
it depends on how the governor wants to utilize you.
It's well, I'm going to put it a little more bluntly. It depends on how powerful the governor wants to remain, or how much they want to concentrate power around themselves.
Relevance.
Yes, because for some people to devolve it even in the slightest means you have devolved power from yourself. But the question I want to ask was this, Excellency.
Yes.
Do you
Just
think
call me Carol. It's easier.
you know it's not going to happen?
we've been on this 1 year.
Yeah, we can keep dancing around it.
Your Excellency, Carol.
Yes. Excellency.
Yes.
Do you think the drafters of this constitution deliberately diluted the position of governors?
Not at all.
Of deputy.
No, not at all.
Deputy, yes. sorry.
Of deputy governors.
Yes.
Not at all.
Why?
I think just like many other things in the constitution that we are now trying to amend, I think it was an issue of really not putting too much thought into it and perhaps assuming that it's a plug and play, that relationships are going to work. Of course, not paying into attention that the fact that you can't legislate relationships,
You actually want to
especially
factor
political relationships.
You want to factor wishful thinking into something as serious as a constitution.
I think so. Just like many other issues in the constitution that we're trying to now solve, because if you look at the constitution, Article 179, Article 5, that is the only place that attempts to say what a deputy governor would do, and it's clear that a deputy governor will act in the absence.
Will deputize.
You know,
And act in the absence.
So you sit and for 5 years hoping that your boss is absent for you to act. I mean, and you know, it's also a huge. If you look at it, it's unfortunate because there's a lot of money being lost. The counties are struggling with huge wage bills,
And yet
and
we
you
have-
have a deputy governor getting paid and with no defined role, even to Mwananchi. So one of the proposals, I think you alluded to that, Eric, earlier, that we are making through the Haji team is to see if these deputy governors can actually be given a portfolio. And it's going to add into the debate of cutting the wage bill, into this whole Punguza Mzigo debate, to Mwananchi. So that you don't have a deputy governor, but you have a deputy governor and
To
plus
become one of the 10 CECs.
Yes. CEC. So you actually have something that you are delivering to Mwananchi, and at the same, you're able to, cut back on the wage bill. And of course, the ripple effect of this, hopefully, is that this money can go into development projects and into our counties.
Are you seeking a proper definition of what portfolio to be given?
No. I think we steered clear.
So the
If you
governor
read
can
my
decide to just basically assign the deputy some weak position in CEC, create a portfolio and call
it is
it.
still better than having no portfolio. Even if I don't know what a weak portfolio to you means, but whatever portfolio you want to call weak, is still better than actually having no JD. Eric.
You know, at independence and subsequently with the subsequent presidents after the founding, the father of the nation, so to speak, there was always a specific role for the vice president.
Yes.
And the minister for home affairs.
Yes.
There was always and.
Yes.
Now, why I say this was deliberate was because, no, sincerely, there was nothing stopping the drafters of the Constitution from saying, not being specific to anyone, but saying the deputy governor must also be, or must also have the portfolio of a CEC. Nothing beyond that, meaning you can then decide where they're going to fit in, but then they become an active member. There was nothing stopping them.
The politics of it, I think. You see, when you have something like that, you're creating two centers of power. If you have a strong, and how is it that people choose their deputy governor candidates? They're looking at, what am I going to get from this person? This person is going to bring votes because they come from that other region where I don't have strong support. So it's balancing it out.
What mileage could they push?
And for that mileage.
Yeah.
So you have this person who's coming and they also have a position that is clearly anchored in law. Then you're basically saying that you are likely to have increased conflict between the governor and the deputy.
Eric, you know, conflict.
Already, the deputy governor's position is secured in that the governor cannot fire this person.
Eric, there are two things here. One, there is the governor specifically asking for someone who has the role that you've mentioned very clearly, but also someone who they probably think can't possibly threaten their position.
Yep.
That's one. Two, there is also the small issue of when you consider having a deputy and you are a governor, or if you're a crafter of the constitution, this, believe me, is thinking that tends towards being negative, as Her Excellency had mentioned. But I get the impression that some of the drafters who are now politicians and some of whom are governors had themselves envisioned their being in those positions and wondering what it is that they would like.
Well, Muga, I guess if we sit here and really think about the past, it's good. It's a very depressing story. And that's why I want us to look at the looming constitutional reforms. Granted, the County Government Act actually canvasses in Section 32 tends to give functions of a deputy governor, but still doesn't really detail the functions of a deputy. Does this person have a portfolio? Or they only go, and like the Constitution, it goes deeper to say, that this person cannot fire in the absence of the governor,
when they're in an acting
and this
capacity.
person will actually be principal assistant. But even that is by and large vague, and that is why my bid is take advantage of the BBI time to canvass some of these issues and bring them to fore. How then can we empower our deputy governors, ensure that they actually do have a portfolio? So it's been a journey from the Constitution to the County Governments Act, and you saw the more common bill, just passed last week. So I think we're making steady steps.
What was the more common bill?
Well, I think mostly it was about replacements, nomination of a deputy governor in case what happens, for instance, in Nairobi happens to any other county, and the governor refuses to nominate a deputy governor. So now at least we have, a guideline to that, so that the next conversation is that when these people are in office, what are they actually doing? Now, the thing is, what you all don't know is that I think deputy governors is the biggest pool of most experienced experts in this country. I mean, I have professors of physics, I have professors of math, we have doctors of finance, doctors of agriculture, we have engineers,
never in this country.
teachers. It's a fine mix of wonderful expertise that is just sitting there.
She ignored that. She let us slide.
That is
That's
just
okay.
sitting there and, sort of being underutilized for, by default or design, being underutilized. And I would want to ensure that a lot of these people actually have a reason for being,
How many
because
of these
they
people-
are eager to
Is there
work.
consensus for this
Yes.
eagerness that you speak of across the board?
100%. That's why we put together a memorandum, and we actually did present it to the Haji team. We put together a memorandum and said, listen, we want to be a little bit more busy than we are right now. We don't want to just sit and be sent to funerals with 10,000 shillings. We actually do want to work. We actually do want a certain portfolio that our performance can be measured.
What would
you
that
know.
look like, Carol?
Yeah.
What would it look like? Because here we say, all right, we see the effects of a DG when the governor is not there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
What would it look like? A DG was actually working. What would it be? What portfolio in county would it be that the shoes would be filled?
There are so many portfolios. So this is what it would look like. So you will be deputy governor, yes, and you will be governor in the absence of your boss. But in his absence, for instance, you have a portfolio, say what? Infrastructure.
Or finance. Give
Or
us the example
finance.
of the Meru one.
Yes, or finance. He has an 8 to 5 job. He's got to report to the county assembly on the various things that, on budgets and the process and the various other things that are happening within his department. So by and large, this person is not idle, but in the absence of the governor, then they step up and they can say, now that governor is away, I will be CC so-and-so will help me in my finance portfolio so that then I can act as governor. So then we make maximum use of these individuals. Yeah.
Okay, so that's example of what's happening in Meru.
Yes.
Give us the example of what's happening in Nyeri, for instance. Does the DG of Nyeri have any functions or any times do you sit in the CECs, in the county executive committee meetings, in the cabinet?
In fact, when I was coming in, I had said, I since I am chair of deputy governors countrywide, I really do not want to go into various counties because I think then I'll lose the bigger agenda.
You're giving us the example so that we can internalize this story.
For like DG Nyeri doesn't have a portfolio. So, it then leaves you, to your boss, to what your boss wants you to do. But what we have also done as deputy governors is that we have taken up initiatives that touch the lives of people. For instance, for me, I've taken up the issue of cancer. Cancer, Nyeri ranks highest in non-communicable diseases. I think we had that discussion the last time I was here in studio. And one of the things that I've been doing is reaching out to foundations and a lot of people, persons of goodwill, to join me and get onto sensitization campaigns, and we've seen a whole lot of people, about almost 40,000 people being screened from such efforts. So deputy governors, I know that Rakanithi has taken up environment, and he's putting together youth, and what they're doing is coming up with nurseries and giving seedlings. So we have actually also learned how to survive within the environment, that if you're not given a job, then you find, for instance, a charitable cause to, to keep you going.
Champion.
Yes, to champion. Yeah.
Sounds like a first lady's office.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what my male colleagues would say about that, but
It's still a first lady.
yes,
Still, still a first ladies.
Yeah.
So you presented the proposals to the BBI team.
Yes.
And the proposal here is that you'd like DGs to also have a portfolio.
Right.
Specifically in law.
Yes.
So you come in knowing that your governor is going also to appoint you into a certain portfolio.
Yes.
But this is also highly dependent on what the governor wants to.
Precisely, because also deputy governors come in different fashions and different professions. So you cannot then cage and say that
within
we have
finance
one,
and yet is a doctor.
Precisely.
Do we have any case where a deputy governor has proved to be so competent that their boss, the governor, has actually bequeathed on them a portfolio, as you so very aptly put it? Do we have any example?
The Meru one.
The Meru one, you could say.
That one tells me that they have a progressive governor.
And also, it tells you about the relationship between the two persons. Yes. Because this is the thing. When all these professionals that you're saying are serving as deputy governors across the country, serious professionals, Professor in Mombasa, you've got Dr. Karugu in Nyeri, you've got, now we have the DG who took over Bomet, who was also very experienced people. When they're accepting to run with this person, to seek the ticket, what do they think? What's running through their mind? I mean, you already know, like you're saying, this is somebody who's really exposed, so they know, right, I'm not going to have any job unless this person assigns me a job. Right. What's in their mind?
Beyond political aspiration.
It's hard to talk about what's in people's mind, but what I can say
informally, what do they tell you?
Politics is politics. There is being a technocrat, and there is politics on the side. So you could come in and, imagine that you have an MOU, and and I can see Muga laughing
with your political partner,
because we hear a lot of that we had an MOU during campaigns. We had said, I'll bring 50% of the CECs will come from my region, and so there's all this happens pre-election. When the governor is then installed and politics comes to play, I mean, no one is in control of that process. So it doesn't matter what you thought. It doesn't matter what MOU,
window MOU out.
Precisely. Politics is going to throw a spanner in the works. And, and that is why it's important to actually anchor these things in the Constitution. So it's not about how you feel, how you wake up, how the governor feels today. No, it is about, this is a constitutional matter. And Mwananchi, the thing is, if you look at it from the Mwananchi side, and when we go around, Mwananchi doesn't know that the deputy governor does not have a portfolio, does not have a budget, that has no say. So we get a lot of backlash also from Wanjiru saying, you are second in
Yep,
command.
yep.
We want roads, we want water, we want A, B, C,
Why
and
can't
D.
you do
Because
it?
you
why
came and
can't
campaigned
you?
and told
It would
us.
be easy if you said, I am also CEC, for instance, water or
Yeah.
whatever. Let's speak water in this village, and people would know that you're actually in charge of water or whatever. So it is what it is. That's the situation we are in. And the good thing is that now we can talk about it and we can do something about it. And the times are right.
How do we cushion the governors? Because this fear by governors is real. We cannot really run away from the fact that there's something that is making the
Why
governors.
do you think we need to cushion governors?
Their fear is real. It's based on something. It's based on the fact that they do not want to be outshone by this person that they campaigned with. As you can hear from what Caroline is saying, there is what they were looking for in this person when they approach the person. I am a politician, you are a technocrat. I come from this side, you come from the other side. So I can go to those people and tell them that, well, your person is my running mate. So we shall get the votes. But I do not want, when we get into office, I do not trust that we shall continue working in harmony. They don't want to be upstaged by their deputies. How do we address the fears of these governors? If you don't address them, the
Eric,
governor is going to assign you some very low-key portfolio. You'll have a portfolio, yes, but it's called, social services.
CEC social services. somewhere
Eric
in the
is
corner.
arguing just like a technocrat,
Yes.
isn't he?
Yeah, because I'm thinking, you cannot assuage any fear that somebody has, a politician who wants to control power fully. There's really nothing you can do, in all honesty.
But we must acknowledge that there's a fear.
If you have that particular provision in the constitution, then he has no choice.
Okay, so
or they have no choice.
Based on that, then, Carol, do you see then any kind of any kind of sentiment against now what you're asking to then be put in the constitution?
Some pushback.
Do you expect pushback then, especially from the side of governors? Because if this is now in law, then there is a certain amount of power then, according to law, then that you must give to deputy governors. Do you foresee any kind of pushback from this?
A lot of these things that we do are not for us, and I want to perceive that governors will not look at it that this is about them, because it's just we are 1 year out now, and if we make a change now, it's really for posterity's sake. It's for those that come, behind us. I want to make sure that 10 years, 20 years from now, deputy governors will actually feel utilized in their counties. So we don't want to look at it from is there going to be pushback? Is there not going to be pushback? And even if there is pushback, then we can lobby Parliament and see if we can amend the County Governments Act, Section 32, and see if we can bolster it, with this proposal. But we don't anticipate that governors will want to push back, because even they will not be governors forever.
They'll never be deputy.
Precisely. This is for posterity's sake. That's why it's a constitutional issue. Yeah.
We'll continue this conversation shortly, because I still feel that you guys are running away from a reality that is confronting you right there in your face. That there's something that is making the governors not give you more prominence in your counties. And unless we start addressing that, then saying that we're going to anchor it in law may not sort out the political issue. It's 26 minutes after 8. This is The Situation Room, broadcasting on Spice FM and KTN Home. We're taking a quick break. We want to take a look at the weather and then traffic, what's happening on the roads. We have in our studio with us Dr. Caroline Karugu. She is a Nyeri Deputy Governor, but also the chair of the Deputy Governors Forum. Good morning.
In Nairobi, it's at 13 degrees, looking like cloudy conditions throughout the day with highs of 24. In Nyeri, 19 degrees the high, and likelihood of rain in the afternoon with lows of 12. Nakuru at 13 degrees is partly cloudy this morning, highs of 21 with a wet afternoon in store. 13 will be the low. In Eldoret, thunderstorms expected for the afternoon, highs of 18 and lows of 12. It'll be a wet afternoon in Kisumu as well, highs of 25 and lows of 17. Rainy conditions are forecasted for Kakamega, highs of 23 and lows of 15. In Malindi, partly cloudy conditions through the day with highs of 28. And in Mombasa, highs of 29 degrees with partly cloudy conditions. Kampala is going to be a thundery afternoon with highs of 25 and lows of 18. Dar es Salaam, 31 degrees, the high, lows of 21 with partly cloudy conditions. And in Joburg, clear skies at 2 degrees this morning, still rather chilly for the day, highs of 17 and lows of 1. And finally for now in Lagos, 24 degrees the high and lows of 23. All right, still looking at the situation on Mombasa Road, still bumper to bumper is what we expect now until about 8:30, 9 o'clock, which is where we are right now. It'll open up in a short while, that's for sure, as people get to where they are going this morning. Nothing major happening coming from Westlands, then down into the city centre. Off of Thika Road, getting to the Pangani underpass. Juja Road was a problem in and outbound today. Jogo Road has slowed down considerably. So we're seeing pockets of traffic around the city. Is expected from Monday morning. Is expected for this time as well. We'll let you know what it looks like in a short while. Spice of MKE. That's how you can reach us on Twitter. Let us know what you see.
Traffic.
Conversation continues at 29 minutes after 8. It's the city of Kenya's biggest conversation, broadcasting on Spice FM 90.9 in Nyeri, and your Deputy Governor is in the studio. She's also the chairperson of the National Deputy Governors Forum, and we are discussing the role and functions of Deputy Governors. We know that, this is not anything that we can hide. We know for a fact that Deputy Governors are, for very many counties around the country, idle. I've tried to look for another word. I just didn't get any other.
I wouldn't say
That word is gonna get in trouble.
Because she used it at some point.
No, but Eric, I wouldn't say they're idle. I wouldn't say they're idle.
Mm-hmm. Are they gainfully employed?
I don't want to digress. This is what I wanted to say.
Right.
If a governor was previously a very active and committed politician, and even if he wasn't or she wasn't, what they do is they learn very quickly on the job. What position, not of equal but of similar importance, do you think they emulate? That of the presidency.
Yep.
And when the governors realize just how much power they actually genuinely have, unless you're a very unique person, that thing will shoot straight to your head. Straight. And power will revolve around you and the acolytes you have around you. Your deputy, not even by design, will just probably be put aside. But there'll be this group of people who knew you before God knows when and who have been with you, who will be running this county. The deputy will be referred to from time to time. We'll say, oh, there's a deputy. Okay. No.
Yep. Somewhere.
Do you think it is odd that you hardly know of any deputy governor? Hardly.
No.
It's not odd. Because that space has been hogged fully by the governors. They want that power to revolve around them. And the reason why is because the amount of money, among other reasons, that counties get, it's an enormous amount of money.
So does it change? Because look, Carol, by the time an individual comes to you and says, oh, Carol, fantastic, PhD in finance, this, that, the other, there's something that we want, to be put on board, to be able to govern the county of Nyeri, for example. Somebody comes to you and there was something at that point about you that was appealing in terms of how you're then going to be able to govern the county. So are we saying that along the line that this appeal was lost or is just not regarded?
Politics happened.
Right?
Yeah.
So then again, the county focus then is out.
Not county, the governor focus.
No.
At the beginning, it was not about the county.
Hold on. The
It
focus
was always about the governor.
about putting them in power.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
fine. So was that? So this is what I'm saying. If there was an understanding at the very beginning that it was about getting this governor in that seat. Right?
Yeah.
Then what changes along the line now where there's this clamor to say we need to be recognized as an entity?
Well, like I said before, politics. I have no other explanation for, it's stranger than fiction. Some of the stories that I hear from my colleagues, especially those that went into an election together, is very strange. That just the amount of sort of fallouts, that there can be, and the only thing that explains it is the political dynamics are constantly changing, and sometimes they don't change as quick as they do for your deputy as they do for the governor. And trying to carry the governor, the deputy along your political trajectory sometimes is difficult, especially where, for instance, the deputy also has their own political trajectory.
Yeah.
And we see this especially in counties where both governor and deputies are politicians. So one of them, for instance, this time is in Tanga, the other one is in this other one. Yes. So we see a lot of that disparity, but it's really just politics, and my heart actually just leaps for the people that we serve, because the people that we serve really don't care. They really don't care about your political dynamics, about the fact that you don't like each other, the fact that those are known issues, and really should not stop the service delivery for Wanjiru. So that is what we're beginning to see, and like I said, the only treatment.
So if the DG went in with a job description whereby, because we know that politics is going to be there, politics will be there.
Yes.
So DG went in with a job description knowing that, look, regardless of all these things that happen on the periphery,
Yes.
I have a job to do.
Yes.
It would be better?
It would be awesome. It would be better, because and not just that you go in with a job description, that you sat somewhere across the table, across a cup of coffee, and you decided you will do this for me. That will certainly change. It will be changed by politics, even if the governor is a very good-hearted person.
Yep.
The politics of the day will change that. It needs to be anchored in the constitution, that you will actually have a portfolio and you will actually have something that you're delivering to Wanjiru. So then that way, it doesn't matter what side of the bed any of you woke up, we have something to deliver to Wanjiru, and deputy governors feel utilized, in their
Excellency
communities.
is really polite. She's really, really polite. She kept referring to then politics happens. This thing called politics happening.
Usurping of power.
It's being played.
It's being played. There will be a group of whisperers who never stop whispering in the governor's ear.
There's the cronyism aspect that comes into play.
But it's not unique to Kenya.
It isn't.
It is a global thing.
That's what I'm
So
saying.
is there anything that you're modeling now your proposal with or to? Because I've just tried to think, who is the Deputy Prime Minister of the UK? Do I know? I don't know.
The question that
Who
you should
is
ask,
the
is it
Deputy
important for you to
Chancellor
know?
of, right?
And the answer is no.
No.
Yeah.
It is not important for you to know.
And do they have any portfolio? No. So why do we need to have a portfolio for deputy governors?
Actually, in the UK, it may be different in this sense. They may have a portfolio within the party.
It's within their party.
It's
Yes.
within,
Yes.
In most countries, it's within, it's
Yes,
within
the
your political party.
And their political
Yes.
parties are powerful.
Yeah.
They're the ones who actually even determine who the prime minister is.
Precisely.
So if you're talking portfolio, they do have portfolio. This one,
In the party, not now coming into the executive.
brother, in many of those
Mike
countries,
Pence, the vice president of the USA, what does he do? What's his 8 to 5? Or Joe Biden when he was Obama's vice president, what was his 8 to 5?
Answer roll call.
There you go. Going to represent the president where the president felt, Joe, just go for this one.
You go to Africa.
I think they agree on what the person should do. And these fellows seem to try as much as possible to give the impression that
they're
they actually
working
abide by the constitution. So you will know what you're supposed to do. They'll tell you, this one is not. The deputy,
This is not your-
the vice president is the one who sort of handled this. They try to have that clarity.
So some culture that has developed over years.
Yes.
That these are some roles that are performed by the deputy
Yes.
president.
Right.
Yes.
Right? So
Yes.
within the same thing that we are going into that culture where we'll know when it comes to, issues about supporting the vulnerable in the society and such and the other, those are the roles that the deputy governor will be doing.
But I hear you
know,
saying that it needs to go a step above that, and it actually
She
needs
wants
to
it
be
entrenched into law.
anchored in law.
And I
Precisely.
support you. I support her view fully.
We started this journey, about now 1.5 years ago, when we started actually looking at what is the role. So because if we are if this is what our bid is, we're bidding to empower the offices of the deputy governors. What does the Constitution say about the office of the deputy president, which we're supposed to mirror? And, or at least, under Article 147, I think, it should be Article 147, the deputy president's functions are sort of a little bit, more strengthened than those, for instance, at the county level. Because at the county level, the Constitution just talks about absence of governor. You would be aware that the deputy president actually chairs IBEC. So, the Constitution was a little bit more detailed. So our first step was, can we then mirror, for instance, what's going on at the national government? But then we realized even that's not going to be sufficient, because still there is no portfolio. You don't have a portfolio. You actually don't have much that you're doing until your boss is absent. That's why we said, so how else can we plug in? And then we looked at the wage bills of these counties. If you look at the wage bills of these counties, it's really disheartening. It really beats, even the spirit of devolution. And we said, so we have then this one person who's here, paid 700,000 shillings, and, and out of no fault of their own, is left to do nothing.
It's underutilized.
Yes, it's underutilized. So how then can we, how can we buff up this person? How can we ensure that this person actually constitutionally can deliver?
And how do we make sure that the
Wanjiru
county can also benefit from whatever expertise that this individual could have to offer?
Precisely.
Right?
Yes, precisely.
There are 10 members of the county executive committee who are appointed by the governor, who bring in a lot of expertise in running various portfolios.
Who are supposed to bring in a lot of expertise.
Yes, and these people are vetted by the county assembly, which county assembly is supposed to ensure that they've got the requisite expertise in managing the portfolios that they are given.
It doesn't mean that this individual who is also
This deputy governor
at the behest of the governor cannot
this deputy
add.
governor can propose, that's one way, is can propose that instead of earning something commensurate with the governor or a deputy, can be earning an allowance, just some simple allowance.
And keep doing nothing.
Yeah, like the governor of West Pokot. Go to America, work in America, live in America, but
And your deputy,
the day you are required to come back home, you'll
here.
come back home and you will serve as acting governor.
So then what are we saying about the wage bill?
We've just said you're taking an allowance.
you're
What
taking an
percentage
allowance.
of the
When you
county
come-
budget does the wage bill entail?
Different counties, different percentages, but the sorry way, or the sorry sort of general status of counties is we are spending anything from 70-80% in recurrent expenditure, and just the
So,
rest,
are all
the
the
rest in
people that the
development.
counties employ necessary? There's a reason why I'm asking this
Yes,
question.
I can tell you, it's a long
Not
journey.
the DG.
Yes,
The
but
DG, in
the
my
staff
opinion, is
themselves-
relevant, but
no,
are all
no,
the
no.
members of staff necessary?
Tell you what, if I'm going to answer that in two ways. One, politically, of course, they are necessary because you don't want to fire people. But one of the things that we have realized in a lot of these counties, and as we continue to understand them, is because of the long journeys the county governments have come from, the local authorities, to where we are today. There is a time we actually used to employ rat catchers, for instance. Mosquito catchers.
Yes.
Very important.
Mole
Right.
trappers.
And a lot of these people are still employed by county governments. So it's also an issue of meter readers, for instance. It's also an issue of understanding your staff, matching talent, to current times, and seeing how then you can edge out, those roles that are, for instance, not useful anymore. And a lot of county governments are doing this, and you're hearing governors talking about, we're going to be, sort of retrenching this batch of people, or redesignating them to a different
they usually go to the
portfolio.
Department of Environment. Which means they're the ones who clean.
Where they're still catching mosquitoes.
In most counties, they actually we've had to fashion new JDs for them because they were paid, and really there's no
So
more
basically
rats
nobody
to
wants
catch.
to take that political decision to say we want to let you go.
It's a bit of
difficult-
It's
it's a
difficult.
difficult one if you look at it politically,
It's
to
votes.
just tell people,
We fired you.
Thanks.
we have fired you, thanks, we no longer need you, because one of the roles of government is actually
Employment creation.
employment creation. So it's a little bit of a catch 22.
Yeah.
It's also understanding who are these people. Are they trainable? Can we take them back to school, give them a new skill, and give them a new job, for instance? So yes, but we have, to answer you, Muga, we've had to deal with a whole lot of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
The somewhere you were heading with that question.
I will decided to divert.
The wage bill and the importance of that wage bill.
You see, the same politics that ensures that deputy governors are rendered close to useless, it's the same politics that keeps people employed. Because you will find there's always a complaint within counties that most of the employees come from a certain region.
Yeah.
They're aligned to a certain person. And where getting rid of people becomes a problem, it's not that they've been gotten rid of, but others are then employed in their place. And then they come again from a certain region, or they're aligned to a certain politician.
Right.
That's where the problem comes in. So politics always takes center stage. Not this, what takes place is the talk of development for Wanjiru and her cousins. But the reality is politics takes center stage for the governor and the acolytes around him.
Having sat in that position, Carol, and talking about that, I mean, you talked about it yourself, that politics, plays here heavily.
Right.
Can we see a situation, just from your experience and even what you're suggesting now, moving forward, whereby it can be different? Can it be different, whereby politics will not overshadow the work that would essentially be done?
That's exactly what I've been trying to say the last couple of minutes. Yes, it can be different, because it can be different if it's anchored in law, in the Constitution. That's the only, and we have looked, by the way, we have researched. By the time we got to the point that, listen, our only one lifeline is, let's anchor this in the Constitution.
Yeah.
It's because we know that politics will always come
Rule
into
the
play.
day. And
it
is
will
this-
come into play, and we're not in control of that. And even if, like I said, even if the governor is very, a very nice
Kind-hearted.
person, kind-hearted, when politics comes into play, it will come into play, and a lot of these things will fall through the cracks, and you will continue having underutilized government officials who are highly paid.
Was the BBI and the changes then that would be brought about by this then the only through way?
It's the only chance that we have right now.
There was nothing else that presented
The ready
itself.
vehicle.
There was nothing else that presented itself before.
It's a ready vehicle, and like I told you, we had in section 32 of the County Governments Act. I mean, progressively, you can see the conversation. I mean, it's been beefed up with time. The role of the deputy governor, where he says that the governor may give you a portfolio. That's an insertion that's been made. They may give you a portfolio, but
Which opens the window for the governor to do that.
Which opens the window for the governor to do that. So, but we want to say it's not that the governor may, that the governor shall give a portfolio to the deputy governor. And we hope by doing this, we'll be able to, get this on track. And remember, we are still believers of devolution. Well, I think what Eric is trying to tell us is to lose hope on devolution.
No,
And
no,
say,
no, no.
okay,
Accept an allowance and
so
relax.
accept an allowance.
There's
leave
absolutely
office.
nothing.
No, that
I've
would be
said
killing the
that implies that.
essence.
You see,
the essence
the
of
role of the
devolution.
deputy governor is an insurance premium. Basically, you're there as the insurance for the county.
But then
That there shall not be a
the
vacancy
premium then is
unless your
very
office
expensive.
Is
the
yes.
premium is very 700,000 shillings a
and,
month,
and that's why we need to look at it
some hell of
differently.
insurance.
So we don't have to give this premium at that high cost. We're basically saying that you're an insurance
No.
policy, you're there, and we know you can continue working wherever you want to work. You're a finance professional, Carol, you can be working in Nairobi, finance professional. The day that the deputy governor calls you and asks you, the governor calls you and says, could you stand in here and that, and could you take up this role? Then that point, you sign up and you get an allowance for it. The rest of the time,
essentially,
you don't
you
have
are
to.
killing
Just
devolution.
like-
Call on anyone
You're
then,
clawing
Eric.
back on
Just
devolution.
like, if you let me finish, we have been pushing for this issue to have commissions that are not permanent commissions.
Yes.
It's the same thing.
No.
There is
No.
the same
They're not
way
the
we
same
say
thing, Eric.
it's an insurance policy. You will be there when called upon. We know you will be ready.
Commissions don't run counties.
The governor runs county. The deputy
Precisely.
governor is sitting behind, waiting for the opportunity to run a county.
No, Eric.
At the
that's-
moment,
no.
he or she is not running this county.
The deputy is a useful member of that particular government, useful in that they may actually have some qualifications that warrants them having a certain position within that county government so that their contribution can be real.
Yep.
Deputizing is vague.
Yes.
It's ambiguous.
Yes.
Okay? But in our case,
Deputizing is not vague and ambiguous.
Oh, no. In the case of the government, county government, you see them.
It is very clear.
It
What do
couldn't
they
get
do?
more ambiguous.
When the governor is not available, then the deputy steps
These guys
in.
never go on leave.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of a governor going on leave?
And that's it.
Have
if
you
they-
ever heard
if
of a
they're
governor
not going
going
on
on
leave,
leave?
that's fine. The deputy is not required.
Eric, that logic is something you have to
you see
explain to me because
the point that we have here is
Yes.
the may point. The may part that the governor may assign some duties or portfolio to the deputy.
that's even vaguer.
So
That's
if
even
the,
bigger because it could be an issue of when they feel
What, when
like
they
it.
feel like it?
exactly,
Or they don't feel like
if
it.
the
Or
governor,
if
if the
situation
governor
arises, then
feels
force
that
them to.
yes, that you've talked about, or this person brings in something that we can use in the county executive committee, they assign that person that duty. In the meantime, you are an insurance. This is the same argument that MPs have been using to say, you know, our role is to bring development to the people because people expect development. So give us CDF. And we keep saying no. Your role is to go to parliament and legislate.
Let me say this to you, Eric, so that because I think we risk looking at this conversation from a very tactical point of view, from a very clock in, clock out point of view. What is the deputy governor doing when they clock in, clock out? To a more strategic conversation, these counties actually have CIDPs. They actually have a vision of where you want to go. One person is the leader of that vision. It's important to have a partner or a second person who also buys into this vision and is then able, even for continuity's sake, is then able to track the vision. This is where we are. This is what we have achieved for Mwananchi, and this is where we are going. So you cannot then say that you do not. I come and I do whatever I'm doing.
Whenever we're
I
having
consult,
a CEC,
or I
whenever the
have another
cabinet is
job,
meeting, you
and I
shall
take an
come,
allowance, for instance.
You shall receive reports. You shall do all those things.
It's
but
got
you do
to be a
not need
continuous thing. Your heart has to be there. You must buy into the vision of where strategically are we going with this county.
But Eric, did the Constitution envision a part-time deputy?
No, you can't give the rapporteur position whereby you come and take notes every time there's a conference that's called. I mean, for crying out loud, there's a reason why you pulled this
What do you
person
think the
in.
Constitution envisioned?
Yeah.
You see, as far as I can see, the drafters, and this was actually what I preambled my conversation on, seem to have deliberately diluted the position of the deputy governor. That was my position.
Yep.
You see, they seemed to have missed out a key component in having designated positions for such a person, in that you create an even bigger platform for checks and balances. See, people look at it as a threat. It's a check and balance. The moment you have a deputy who has a clear role in government, yes, they may be a threat to you in that they may outperform you, but it means then you have to up your game.
Pull up your socks also and make
Yes.
sure that you're always at the top
This
when it
one,
comes
the
to
governors,
performance.
why do you think we have such dismal performances from so many of our governors?
Nobody's
There's
keeping
no check
anybody
and
in
balance.
check.
You have some random deputy who nobody in the country knows about, even in your own county, probably they don't even know who that person is. When they appear, they say, oh, so this is the deputy. Now, that I don't think, the extent to which I'm explaining it is what the Constitution intended, but that's what they have created.
And the time is
The
right
check and
to
balance
then
Yes.
bring
is
these discussions
from another
to
institution.
fore.
Another institution called the County Assembly. It's very clear. That's the role of the County Assembly. Checks and balances to the executive as a whole.
Actually,
The governor and his 10 CECs or her 10
actually, the
CECs,
check and
including
balance-
the deputy governor.
Eric, the check and balance that the county has is specific, really, if you look at it. It's not in the day-to-day running of the county. It's in the laws. It's in the ensuring that the laws that pertain to the running of a county are adhered to. Think of any government.
It's more along the lines of
That's what
legislation.
Parliament does. That's what Senate does.
Yes.
But I'm talking about day-to-day function of the executive. Day-to-day. A deputy is a good check and balance, believe me. It may not sound like it. In democracies where these things work, man, the check and balance is all over the place. You'll have an attorney general who doesn't agree with you, and they'll tell you they don't agree with you, and they'll give you reasons why. So the option is either they resign, or but that's it. But you then know that you cannot just do what you like, because somebody's going to constantly remind you of what the constitutional requirements are. A deputy would do an excellent job.
There's
example of a jurisdiction where this has happened, and not a parliamentary system where you have a coalition formed by leaders of different parties, because they're checking and balancing each other. But another one.
The example that comes to my mind is the American system.
Yeah.
Look at the number of times people whom the president has appointed have disagreed with him. They've resigned.
Right.
Or they've been sacked, or they've been threatened. But they're a check and balance. They've pointed out, clearly that this one isn't working.
And yet they've been appointed by the governor, by the president.
Yes.
All right?
But
Which
they
means
know
that they have a voice.
that their role
Which
is
is
to
the same-
serve Eric. They know their role is to serve the Mwananchi, as we call it. So they serve the Mwananchi.
The same thing. The person who went and canvassed for votes alongside the governor is the deputy governor.
Yes.
And they have a voice. Nothing muzzles their voice. Nothing muzzles a deputy governor from calling a press conference,
Eric,
or even
it is
issuing a
true.
statement to say,
they can't even be
I
sacked
disagree.
as you put it. But you know what happens? You are simply ostracized. You are left in the cold completely.
Now, can you imagine if you had a portfolio, you'd still
cronyism
be
that you talked
ostracized.
about, the cronyism doesn't center around the DG, for example. Who are you going to call, on what platform are you going to be speaking? Calling a press conference on what platform?
As a deputy
For
governor.
example, saying what?
You are the deputy governor. You're calling out what you feel is not going right with the government. You can quit. We saw a deputy governor of Nairobi do the same. They just basically came out and said, I do not think that this is the direction that we promised the people of Nairobi we're going to take.
The deputy governor of
He could
Nairobi,
have continued staying there in that office, Polycarp, and continue raising those issues from that point.
Precisely, but this guy was not a politician. A
Nothing
politician would never hang themselves with their own rope. Never.
And I think it was unfortunate that we lost Tigave. I think, and he's my friend, and I keep telling him, you would have been just a little bit more patient and try and fight it. Yes, fight it from within. Because what do you mean? What are you saying about evolution when you quit, for instance? And the chances, and I can tell you, the temptation to quit is there. But you cannot. So because if you do that, essentially, then what you're saying is that you're killing devolution, then and that it doesn't work. What I wanted to say to Muga is,
as we conclude.
Yes, as we conclude, he initially said that it was deliberate, but the other thing that we have also seen, if you read the Constitution, is that there's also no defined way of removal of office. The deputy governor, there's no defined process. There is a defined process
for governor,
but there is none. And so what we are proposing in our memorandum to Haji is to have a section under Article 181, to have an A that then details this is how to remove, and these are the reasons why a deputy governor would be put out of office.
Happen, they must have a portfolio.
Yes, precisely. And for that to happen, they must have a portfolio.
Maybe not. Thank you very much, Dr. Caroline Karugu, for speaking to us.
Thank you for having me.
Chair of the National Deputy Governors Forum. We wish you all the best as you push for this. It makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
But also you have to look at it from all sides.
Absolutely.
Asante sana for joining us. Just before you go, listen to today's proverb from CT Muga.
Slander by the stream will be heard by the frogs.
Slander by the stream will be heard by the
frogs.
Anyone who has listened to a stream or a river or a rivulet rushing, they make a sound. They all do, passing through rocks. And the constant inhabitor of this environment are frogs and toads. So, because of the proximity and because they live in that environment, I think whatever happens to that stream, whatever noise, whatever sound it makes, they will hear.
They will hear.
Yes.
Indeed.
See, we are the frogs here.
Great.
All the sounds.
Whatever is happening in this stream. Thank you, Carol, and thank you very much for bringing to us
this. Coffee, and
thank you very
from
much.
Dead and Kimathi University.
Always happy to bring you a fresh one.
Fantastic.
Lovely.
Wonderful.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Asante sana, and thank you very much for everybody tuning in on KTN Home. Thank you very much. We'll be joining you again tomorrow morning from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. It's now coming up to 9. So Asante sana, KTN Home. We take this quick break so we can continue with your programming.